How did we first meet, Cathy?
Oh, I remember so clearly. So initially, I made a web inquiry into Safe4Tourism because I knew that you were involved in accidents, deaths abroad. I sent in by the way, this is my story, told you about Hudson, and I just asked for some information on how I could create a campaign.
I remember that email.
Yeah, and it was your colleague Stephanie who came back and said, okay, I think we might be able to help. Why don't we meet? And we met in a garden centre for coffee one morning. Can't quite remember where the garden centre was.
Sutton Green.
Yes.
Near Woking.
Yep.
Outside, it was a bit chilly.
It was, yeah.
It was February time.
Yeah.
It?
And I just told you the whole story. Yeah. And I remember, crying as I was telling you.
I think we all cried, didn't we? Yeah.
What had happened, because it was just so tragic. And then, from that coffee meeting in the garden centre came the Hudson Pack Safe appeal.
We formed quite a good little team, haven't we, actually? You, me and Stephanie.
Yeah.
Just we've really I think we grabbed the opportunities and we've made some good opportunities together to do stuff, to make real change.
All of us, we have great strength and bravery, and we're very tenacious, so we just go for it. And I think that's been part of the strength of the campaign, and it's helped us achieve everything we've achieved in just 10 months. It's pretty phenomenal. And I think we understand what each other's qualities are, our strengths. And certainly, I always come to you and Stephanie with any questions about carbon monoxide or guidance for how to deal with media, I guess, because I don't have any experience at all. Well, I do now, but at the beginning I didn't. Yeah,
and I suppose we've been able to link in other organisations and individuals and kind of maybe know how some of the systems work. So particularly when we're looking for political change, which we have been more recently, is understanding kind of where to go and how to get things moving in what otherwise is a completely impenetrable world. So I hope we've brought that to the campaign. And like you say, we don't want to give up. We want change as much as you do, and we're not going to settle for anything less than...
No, and I think that's why we work so well as a team, because we're all there to keep achieving the next goal, the next goal, the next goal. And if we see an opportunity, we go, do you know what, let's go for it.
Yeah, no faffing around.
Let's just see what comes out of this. Yeah. So I think we're a pretty powerful, incredible team, all three of us, With the help, not forgetting, from so many other people that have helped us along the way. If I think back over the last 10 months, we have achieved so much. It's difficult to say what the highlights are, but I think I've got two particular highlights.
I've got two as well. I wonder if they're the same two.
You tell me what yours are.
You tell me yours.
Okay, the first one is in conjunction with Dr. Al Pinkerton, who, as you know, is our local MP, taking Hudson's Pack Safe appeal to Westminster, and actually being there when they had the debate on changing FCDO travel guidelines. And then I remember going again when Dr. Al Pinkerton was invited to ask a question about changing the travel guidelines. And although we weren't there for the response, I heard it because it was on live radio. And when Hamish Falconer said, yep, we'll update the travel guidelines, I think we all went, oh my God, he's just said yes. Because we expected another couple of debates and another couple of questions being tabled. But no, he said, yeah, we'll do it. So that for me was a monumental moment.
Yeah, that was one of mine. And actually I was going to embellish that but the bit that made my heart pound was just hearing Hudson's story.
Yeah.
Spoken in Parliament, in front of parliamentarians, on live Parliament TV. I mean, it makes us a bit teary-eyed just thinking about it now, but that was a really proud moment, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, I agree.
That whole period of making political change, which almost never happens, and we did that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw in my second one, which is much more recently, which is hearing a mum bought a carbon monoxide alarm for her gap year daughter travelling in South America. Yeah. And her daughter didn't want to take it, but she did. very dutifully for her mother to keep her mum happy.
That's right.
And it went off in a hostel. And we don't know what the circumstances were, but they were able to evacuate the hostel. So potentially has saved her daughter's life and possibly the other backpackers that were in the hostel as well. That's incredible.
That is really incredible. And I remember reading that, opening it up. It came through very early in the morning on an email, and I remember reading it, and I just welled up and cried. And I was with the girls. I just finished the gym, and they went, "What's up? What you crying for?" And I said, "I've just read something that is just so positive, and it's just upset me, but in a good way, because it was a direct result of a mum reading Hudson's story, and as a result, potentially saved a life."
But what's interesting in that story was, I think it raised an issue that perhaps we hadn't thought about before, which was the potential reluctance of young people to want to take a carbon monoxide. So not only do they don't necessarily think about taking it, but even if you offer it to them, they think, oh, this is a pain, it's taking up valuable space in my already heaving rucksack.
Exactly.
And I think that's given us something more to think about. How do we help parents who want to keep their young people safe, present it in a way that the young people think, oh, well, yeah, okay, Mum, I will take it and I'll use it. I won't just leave it in the bottom of my rucksack until I get to the end of my trip.
I mean, I think there are two things there. One is obviously Hudson's story and how tragic that was, and how easily it could happen to anybody, no matter of age, what accommodation they're staying in, what country they're staying in. And, you know, secondly, the way that we have the alarm with the strap, once it's attached, they just forget about it. So there's no danger of it falling to the bottom of the rucksack. It is attached. That is the beauty of the design.
Yeah. So Cathy, how does it feel for you to see people taking action directly as a result of hearing Hudson's story?
It feels very emotional. It feels as though there's some positive outcomes from Hudson's tragic death. So us as a family have lost, you know, a huge part of our lives. And every time I hear about somebody buying the alarm or telling somebody about it, I just think that's for Hudson. That's another little positive mark that is helping to create his legacy, which is all about, you know, I told you so many times, he was such a kind and giving and considerate young man. And it's almost like he's still continuing to be that, but just through me.
So he's directing the campaign.
Absolutely. And at times I do feel that, you know, especially when I can sometimes feel that I've come up against a brick wall. You know, most recent example, and you know, this is another huge win for me, because almost 10 years on, we've managed to, you know, implement. Do you remember the coroner from the Shepherd's Children's case? He recommended that the alarms be sold in airports, and you know, hopefully very soon, in the next few weeks, the alarms are going to be in all UK airports, airside, with Hudson's story and campaign attached. So that is another way that Hudson is helping to protect other travellers like himself. So yeah, I do feel that this legacy, Hudson's legacy, is just becoming bigger and bigger and more positive, and it just gives me joy in my heart, because I just think, how amazing is that, out of something so horrendous. I mean, the worst thing that could ever happen for me, for Paul, his dad, for Natasha, for Jordan, and anybody else who has felt the loss of a child. It's just horrendous.
So it's really fantastic that carbon monoxide alarms are going to be stocked at every UK airport, because it means people that may not have thought about it will see them and think, even if they don't necessarily know they should have one, at least it starts the conversation going. Maybe they'll ask themselves or other people the question, what's that? What's it for? Should I have one? It's brilliant for people who had the very best intentions of getting an alarm and packing it, and then for whatever reason it got lost in the preparation, nightmare that is when you're getting ready for a holiday. So it's fantastic that if you get to the airport, bit like you think, oh, I forgot my toothpaste or whatever, you can buy it right there before you go. And, you know, it's an incredible step forward. It really is, Cathy. And, you know, who'd have thought it would take 10 years from the recommendation of the inquest for that to happen? But all credit to you, because you really helped push this along. And the way that you've talked about Hudson and the way that you have taken his story and guided it into an agent for change is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
Yeah,
huge
totally.
Sadness, but huge positivity.
So I really hope, you know, there's some change happens in lots of different ways, doesn't it? It's legislation, it's public pressure. I do think with carbon monoxide, legislation takes too long. It's too much of a, you know, long-winded, tortuous process. Partly, I think the answer in this is almost to create a social movement, so that in the same way you expect everybody whose house you go to have a smoke alarm, of course you would. You expect everybody who's got any sort of fuel-burning appliance to have a carbon monoxide alarm.
Yeah, you do.
And so I would hope that having alarms visibly available everywhere, people then start to think, oh, I need to have one of those, and I need to find out. If I don't know what they are, I need to find out about them. And then once I've found out about them, I need to tell everyone I know about them.
Exactly.
And so you create a kind of cascade. So having them really visible in an airport retailer is really important, because it helps us push that social movement. So that in the future, it almost becomes socially unacceptable not to have a carbon monoxide alarm wherever you're going.
And I think that's where the travel companies come in as well, because they're also a catalyst for reminding people to take the alarm. So, you know, how amazing would it be to have every single travel company, UK initially, have it on their website, a paragraph about carbon monoxide, health and safety, travel awareness, and don't forget, we highly recommend you take a travel alarm with you.
Yeah, I mean, some of them do. Some of them do already.
Some of them do, but there's some big ones that don't, as we know. And, you know, I recently wrote to a very big company the other week who said, well, you know, we make sure that all our accommodation has appliances that are all in good working order. That might be the case, but you and I both know a water heater can be working now, and in 10 minutes it can fail. And they do not have the ability, the resources to check all the appliances as regularly as they would need to be checked in order for people to be accommodated safely. It's impossible. So therefore, we have to take individual responsibility for protecting ourselves.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But it can certainly be supported by the travel companies. And as you say, another reminder for people. It's something else that is providing the reminder, the awareness.
Yeah, and that's where the advice from the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office really helps, because not only is it directed at travellers, but also the travel industry looks at that advice when travel companies, individual travel companies, are constructing what they're going to say to their customers. So the stronger the FCDO advice can be, the easier that makes travel companies' job in terms of putting advice out to their own
Absolutely,
consumers.
yeah, it does. It does.
We've got one bit of advice to travellers this summer. Pack an alarm and use it when you get to your accommodation.
Yeah, and as a reminder, I mean, this little piece here. Yeah. That's all you need. 10-year battery, strap, attach it to your luggage, away you go.
Easy as.
And inexpensive.
Yeah.
And the reminder for me as a mother is that this inexpensive piece of equipment would probably have saved Hudson's life.
It's a hard question, Cathy, but if Hudson were here now, what do you think he'd say about what you've done and what we've done together?
Incredible, amazing, so proud.
Sounds like, I mean, I didn't know Hudson, but I feel like I knew him from everything you've told me, but it sounds like the sort of thing he would totally get behind.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, he so would. So out of everything that, you know, we've spoken about over the last 10 months and everything that we've incorporated in the campaign, and I guess from what you guys know as well, because you're the experts, what suggestions, recommendations would you make to people, let's say they're about to travel now?
Firstly, get a carbon monoxide alarm that you can pack and take with you and use it That's number one. Number two, make sure you know the signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, because they can be quite generic and look like an awful lot of other illnesses and diseases that you might get travelling. So just make sure you know what they are. If in any doubt, vacate your accommodation. And if you feel better when you vacate your accommodation, there's a chance that carbon monoxide might be involved. And the third thing I'd say is ask your accommodation provider about their approach to carbon monoxide. Do they know about carbon monoxide? Do they get their boilers and other appliances maintained? Do they have any alarms already? Because as I said, this is partly about a social movement, a global social movement. So the change we're seeking is pretty huge, but that will start to help accommodation providers think, oh, maybe I do need to address this if I'm going to keep my customers coming. You can find more information on the Safe4Tourism website, which is www.safe4tourism.org.uk.
There's also Hudson's Pack Safe Appeal campaign website, and just pop it into Google, Hudson Foley Pack Safe Appeal, and it will come up. And go on there and read about Hudson, and you can purchase an alarm, and you can read about some of the things that we're doing as well. And there's also Hudson's Pack Safe Appeal campaign page, which you can find on Google. And there you'll be able to purchase the alarm that we showed earlier and find out more about Hudson and our other activities that we're involved in to create carbon monoxide awareness for all travellers.
And of course, the other place to go is the campaign website, coalarmssavelives.com, where you can find out more information about the signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning and all about alarms. And it's really important whether you're travelling or not.